Let's look at the most recent Kamala Harris interview that has right-wingers furious, especially as she continues to knock these out of the park while Trump gets embarrassed in his by the likes of Bloomberg, which I covered this morning, and now we'll jump into this for a little bit of a comparison.
Back to Detroit. Can you imagine? You go to a city and you say you want the votes of those people, and then you disparage the city.
Damn.
And that's what he did in Detroit. And he has a tendency to mention cities that either have a historically black majority population.
That's right.
Exactly. I mean, if you notice the cities he mentions, it's pretty obvious. Detroit, Philadelphia, New York, Chicago. It's all cities with majority black populations that he wants to degrade, call them all sorts of names like a hellhole, say they're in decline, akin to how he does with countries as well, mentioning countries that are home to brown people as bad and evil and poisoning the blood of our country, while from his words, good immigration comes from the nice white countries. It's clear-cut racism. He's showing his racial bias because he's too old and demented to hide it. And MAGA either doesn't care because they're bigots in the same way, or because it's not enough for them to believe it unless he stands up in a pointy white hood and says, I'm racist.
Why do you allow them to call you the border czar when that's not even that wasn't your
I'm not
role?
giving him permission for that.
Oh, you're right. But, but I mean, you don't push back on it because that wasn't your role. What?
Fact checkers have made that clear. Look, if I responded to every name he called me, I wouldn't be focused on the things that actually help the American people, and that's my focus.
This is a wonderful response because it's what Americans actually want. A president who won't stoop to the level of Trump from his name calling, giving us that kind of reputation on a global scale as Americans, getting defensive over small things like your crowd size or being born with the silver spoon, and wasting time on things that truly just don't help the American people. She's focused on laying out her agenda, her vision for America, her goals that she wants to accomplish moving forward, while Trump is focused on calling her a DEI hire, saying she's not really black, that she's a communist, a fascist, a stupid, a litany of other names, none of which are true, which, I mean, it's also like, why would she respond to something so clearly below her? And to just debunk the claim for any MAGA gremlins that are going to crawl to my comments, she was not tasked with anything that had to do with the border. She was tasked to efforts that were in the northern triangle of Central American countries to reduce the circumstances that cause immigration, where she was able to direct aid and investment to these countries where immigration then dropped directly after, tying her to the border instead of putting up her successes. Is just another example of how Republicans lie to create a narrative because, again, they don't have any real attacks that will land about Kamala.
Could you please respond to Trump's claim that he's going to use the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to round up immigrants if he wins the election? This law was last used to put Asian Americans in internment camps during World War II, and I have a sneaking suspicion that if Trump wins, he's going to use this law to put anyone that doesn't look white in camps, and I'm scared.
Yeah, so you've hit on a really important point and expressed it, I think, so well, which is he is achieving his intended effect to make you scared. He is running full time on a campaign that is about instilling fear, not about hope, not about optimism, not about the future, but about fear. And so this is yet another example. Look what he did in saying that those legal immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, were eating their pets.
And this is also wonderfully put. Trump just wants to stoke fear. His entire campaign is based off scaring people into voting for him, make them think they have no other option because that's the only way they'll do it. Yet he's talking about doing horrendous things himself, vowing that he would enact the Alien Enemies Act, which allows the president to deport legal immigrants and even citizens just because of their country of birth being foreign or them having dual citizenship. I mean, it was indeed last used to put Japanese Americans in internment camps, and it's marred in a long history of discrimination, yet Donald Trump can get away with it because he's engaged in so much fear-mongering about immigrants that isn't even true that his base thinks things like this are normal.